jump into the technology domain.
Awesome. So, hi students. Welcome to the latest edition of Academy Exclusive Podcast Series. And as always, this week we have someone very special, and it's going to be very techtastic. And also, you are going to learn so many new terminologies today. So this week we have a new theme, and also along with that, you are going to learn about a new role. So let me start with introducing the speaker. So we have GOWTHAM. So he has 15 years of experience in multiple companies, and he's joining us live from US right now. And thank you so much, GOWTHAM, for accepting to join us and talk to our students and to discuss a few things which will be very helpful for them. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you so much, Avinash. First, I should say thank you for giving the opportunity to connect with so many young minds and so many cool things that you are doing. So I'm really happy that I can share some of my knowledge and the not so good knowledge. So everything, my experiences with the new generation and the new kids who are ready to jump into the technology domain.
Awesome. So, I need to introduce our students also. So, the students who are joining us today, like I'm sure like thousands of them are listening to this podcast, and they are very aspirational. Actually, even on a Sunday, they kind of spend a couple of hours and try to learn new things from an industry expert. They try to gain some knowledge and also share that knowledge with their friends. And also they go on to LinkedIn, Twitter after the podcast and share with others also. So they kind of get very excited to learn new things, and whenever they get a chance. And they have started their journey early, and right in the first and second year, they're trying to learn advanced technologies. And every day, in addition to the college, they spend time consistently, and they keep going at it.
Yeah, I feel so nostalgic. So back in the days when I was studying the BTech first year or second year, we never had such a foreseen of like learning new technologies. So that time we were still busy with a lot of campus courses. I'm really glad that the new generation is having so aspirational and spending so much time for learning the technologies way ahead. But I see that that is the way going forward. So the technology has progressed a lot back from 2000s and now 2020s. The things has really drastically changed, especially the technology spectrum. I think that is what is expected from the new generation, who are going to be like leaders, leading the cloud revolution and the beyond the cloud.
Yeah, appreciation coming from people like you matters very much for our students. Like it's like a pat on their back and help them continue with their journey, and also help them keep up with their consistency and all. Yeah. So and also, I had so many questions. Like when I saw your profile, like you had a like vast journey, 15 years of experience, and that too in top MNCs, and you worked as a scientist, and then as a software engineer, as a security engineer, and a lead security engineer, that too across the top companies, and defending in a defending role, and also as a security research engineer kind of thing. So for me, after looking at your profile, it's like you are saving the world. You and your team are continuously working to save the world. So can you briefly talk about your journey? I think it will be very interesting for students to listen from you.
Yeah. So to start with, like myself, GOWTHAM. So my journey started with a very humble beginning in a ZP high school, Madanapalli. So it's a town in Chittoor district. So all my 10th up to 10th grade, I was in Telugu medium. So that's where my journey started, and I feel that proud that I'm still kind of a ZPHS student. Awesome. So after that, so naturally, because of our pressing Telugu states, so I was in the engineering. Not only that, so I was very much from the beginning interested in the mathematics, especially the algebra and the theoretical mathematics, especially the calculus part of it and other things. So which naturally I started liking the math as a main subject. And so after my inter, so naturally, as I'm more tendance towards mathematics, so I entered into the computer science. And from the day one, I never regretted that the choice. because I fell in love with computers. And so I cherished my days in SV University Tirupati. So we had some both good and naughty stuff, whatever we did there. So, but still we learned a lot from our college. So I thankful to my professors and some of my good friends there. So what I really feel that is early in the career. So when you're in graduation, so whatever we learn and whatever the interest we develop, so that stays for a long time beyond the career. So that is when I feel like the students are in right time. So develop passions and develop interest towards certain things. So in my early career, so I was very much interested into the operating systems. And so every aspect of the operating systems passionates me. And in that, so later on, I explored a lot of stuff. So especially my first job was operating system development in Microsoft Windows 7. So I was part of the Windows 7 networking team. So some of the networking components I got opportunity to work with. So that is kind of a very kind of giving a cake for a sweet lover. So I really cherished that opportunity. And then I never looked back. With respect to security, so security is kind of a foundation for any operating system. So that's how, so my interest went beyond the operating system. So that's how basically your natural interest that you develop in your college. So it just progresses as you see more and more in your career, more and more in your job, first job, second job. You keep going towards narrow down your career path. So that's what will happen. And that's what led me towards exploring various stuff. And I worked in DRDO scientist in cybersecurity space. So that's another turning point in my career. So I get into chance with various stuff with active malware and research and doing very good fundamental research.
Kind of a really hands-on kind of role.
That's a kind of a hands-on role.
Okay.
But so it's not always it has, every job has its own ups and downs. So, and whatever we learn, whatever we pick up, we should move on. Beyond the DRDO, so I moved on to the Microsoft again. So there I specifically joined to antivirus team because that's what really in the security space, the endpoint security is very critical. And there is a lot of security. Security is kind of a vast field. And in that endpoint security, which is a intersection of security and operating systems. So that's where I moved forward. And so after I
looking forward to learn so many new terms today from you, particularly about security and all. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So the security is really kind of vast domain. So and it's very relevant for every engineer and every one who is working with software devices and information. So in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, when it comes to security, I mean, one question as a student, when I was a student, so I never took like security is so big an issue back then. And also I never realized like security is so much vast domain until I actually started to work with some of the folks who are deep into it. So I'm sure that even students has a lot of interest in it. So they have this kind of fantasy roles like hackers and all those things where they work deep in security and try to like defend the world. And also whatever we see in movies is what we capture when it comes to security. But when it comes to real world, so we always have this notion that security is only for companies, so security is only for professionals who are working. But is it? I mean, how relevant is it for students, or what is security in terms of like from the perspective of a student, from your point of view?
Yeah. So from the student perspective or from any generic perspective, to simply understand, security is about confidentiality and integrity and the tampering. So this is about any information that you have. Any general person. So if they want to protect their information, if they don't want their information to be seen by anyone, so that means you need security. For example, so you should ask some questions to yourself. So do you want anyone to see everything that's in your computer?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. And do you want anyone to see your SMS?
Definitely.
No. So what about WhatsApp chats with your friends, colleagues, or any XYZ?
Right.
So that means you need security. So you need confidentiality of data that you have. Let's say you have a bank account. So I'm not sure if every student will have, but if I remember, like even in my BTech first year, I used to have a bank account. Do you want anyone?
Now that digital payments is everywhere, so everybody has one. So
you want anyone to take away some money from your account? No. That means like you don't want some information to be tampered with. So you want the integrity of your banking information, bank login account. So that means you should ask these questions, whether you have any information that you want to protect. That means if the answer is yes, then you need to be aware of security. You need to be aware of security best practices, both as a general user, and if you're an engineer, and especially if you're a computer engineer, then you should be having more and more awareness of what kind of threats does a particular information system has.
Okay. I mean, whenever we talk of advanced technologies, like for example, students are learning and also some of the industry experts are sharing their thoughts. So all the advanced technologies are like opening up possibilities as well as like creating some new fantasies kind of thing. But when it comes to security, it's kind of scary. So we kind of listen these scary things about how great hacks have been made and how everybody got affected and all these things. So I mean, whenever we hear that, we get a feeling, but you are living in that and you are trying to defend that and you are trying to make it better. So what should be our perspective in this angle? So how should we think like?
My perspective is like security is a long journey, and every incident makes me more happy because that gives opportunity for the system designers to improve the system. So many of the world historic hacks have led to a serious security improvements. For example, like back in 2010, there was a big malware attack called Stuxnet, which is basically a nuclear attack. It's the first of its attack. And after that, it drastically changed how the people foresee the USBs. Because the threat came from the USB. That means everybody started protecting the USBs. So everybody got aware of it. Okay. And operating systems like Windows 10 have fundamentally, they took a different security measures to thwart or to avoid the whole class of attack. So the Stuxnet kind of attack, you can't see on the next operating system. So anything, a big security thing, that incident that happens makes me interesting to see, understand what's going to come, what kind of improvements going to come in the systems. So I'm a guy who worked on both sides of the spectrum of the security, but I really love designing the systems which closes a lot of security gaps and security attacks. In a sense, every new security attack makes me interesting and makes me more happy that the system's going to be more robust.
I mean, that's a very interesting way to look at it, actually. So, I mean, that shows like how you take on challenges and how you keep on fighting the threats that daily wakes you up in the morning, maybe.
That's the only way. So there is no complete security solution ever designed. So you have to keep learning and you have to be adaptable.
So you just mentioned a case study, and you have used some terminologies like malware and also attack threats and all these things. So do you mind throwing some light on that, like explaining in detail like what's a malware fundamentally?
Yeah, so malware is just a kind of a piece of program. It's a very simple program, but what it does has a different effect. So many people write a lot of programs like Hello World. Hello World is a program, and malware is also a program. Okay. And that program has a specific objective to do. For example, certain malwares have steal the banking credentials that will be used in your computer. So those are basically Trojans. Okay. And in the Stuxnet case, that particular program has brought the nuclear reactor down. And that's kind of a scary thing. So we should name it a much different name. And so there are some malwares which completely encrypts your hard disk, every file in the hard disk. In that case, that program is named as ransomware. So malware is not one thing, it's just a program, and based on its objective, based on its effect, we can name it whatever we want.
Okay. We generally tend to call everything as virus. So
no, so virus is specific for which it can spread by itself. The self-replicating malware is virus.
Okay, so these are all different kind of malwares.
Yes.
Okay.
Different families.
It's different families.
Awesome. Yeah, we call them live.
So they have a lineology and chronological order of malwares also, just like human beings.
That's because like good guys, the bad guys are also have a lineage. So a particular group of malware group will try to advance the next version of the malware based on the previous version. And they keep advancing the malware because the antivirus softwares will keep improving detecting them. So that fight never stops.
So who gets ahead in the race will get better of the other one.
Yeah.
One more thing we keep hearing about, in general, when we refer to cybersecurity, is different types of attacks which happens every day, and all the type of losses which we see from a company perspective or from an individual perspective. And I think as in recent days, as internet adoption increased and digital payments got into every nook and corner of the country, the number of people who are getting targeted and also the number of incidents are increasing very much. So every day. And that too, we get to hear some of the things like dark web, and also, if we talk about international scale, we get to hear about cyber warfare kind of terms. Can you explain this in security perspective?
Sure. So dark web specifically is just a term. So like www is a web of network computers. So all the computers in the world which are connected to a network, and then you have a browser, you can access it. So that's typically how the internet works. So the dark web is a subset of computers which are networked. Okay. But this subset of small group of computers have a specific qualities. Mm-hmm. So none of your regular www websites or your web browsers or your Google search engines, nobody can find them. That's because the nature of those network, sub-network computers they are not visible for the rest of the internet. And using this network, this subset of network, you need a specific tools like Tor browser. And Tor browser is an anonymous way you can connect to the Tor. The tricky thing is, once you enter into the dark web, you can access any other website address or regular website that you want to see. Okay. It's just like making yourself invisible in internet. Mm. So a lot of people think that just entering into the dark web is illegal or doing something is. No, it's not illegal. The thing is, you can be invisible, and what you're going to do after entering there is the question. Okay. Mm. So there's a lot of ethical questions on what happens in the dark net, especially the crypto exchange. Basically, in the past, there used to be definitely a money transfer happens physically. Hmm. Whereas with crypto, where money you can transfer anonymously, like Bitcoins or Ethereum. So that is a very big challenge because a lot of criminal activities are going on in the dark web. It's very important to be aware of it. And also it's important to be having a very good understanding of what not to do with it.
I think there's a serious need to understand how to be on the right side of the internet, probably.
Exactly. So a lot of ethical questions around that.
Hmm. The tools and skills are same, but what we do with that is what defines and the consequences, probably.
Exactly. So engineers from engineering perspective, if you are in a small computer lab with a LAN, a network of 10 computers, you can call it like a dark web if you're doing all this dark stuff in that LAN, and that LAN is not accessible to any other internet. To make it much simpler. It's not that simple. These small set of dark web computers are all over the world, and they have a peer-to-peer network. So that's what it is.
Okay, so it's like a completely private network, which is not visible and also which is not easily accessible.
You need to have a special tools to access it.
Okay,
like Tor browser.
Tools. Okay, like the Tor browser you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the cyber warfare is a very good term. So the cyber warfare is about using this hacking and malware and any other security loopholes to exploit them and give an effect of a nation state war, whatever you physical damage to a system which belongs to a nation. Okay. So that is usually termed as cyber warfare event. For example, the Stuxnet is a classic example of a cyber warfare.
Okay, because it is targeted to bring down the nuclear reactor of a particular country. Okay.
Exactly. So many times the cyber warfare is used for doing a recce, for example, for doing stealth maintenance and trying to steal some secrets. Okay. But in the Stuxnet case, they had a physical damage, so which is equivalent to bombing it. Okay. Yeah. They could not put a bomb on it, so they did that. Okay. I mean, this is maybe fastest way to do it rather than actually doing it physically. I want to tell you another interesting story. So back in 2012, so there used to be drones. So you know drones, right? Yes. So US used to use these drones for reconnaissance and different missions in different countries. So they didn't like this people coming on their nation space and just going away in that drones. So what they did was they could have simply shot it down. Okay. So they didn't shot it down. So they hacked the drone and they gave the drone a wrong GPS locations so that they made it land on their space, the Iran's airstrips. Just imagine, so you have a drone you have a foreign country's drone in your airspace. So you hacked into it and you made it land on your airport. If you land anywhere, it is going to crash. Correct. Yeah. So without damage, they're able to accurately land on an airstrip. I mean, that's so interesting. That's a classic cyber warfare thing. So there are a lot of things possible. But the thing is to understand the fine line of what is the fiction, what is reality, based on the technology of today. So that means we should be at the edge of the technology to understand what is fiction. So whatever is in the latest fictional movie is real or not. That means you have to be on the latest edge of the security technologies to understand. Okay. I mean, yeah, sometimes we get a feeling that we can do anything, but there are many things that might be possible, which are not known to common person. But it's not like we can do whatever we want kind of thing, right? That's true. Yeah, but that's an interesting perspective. Like, for example, cyber warfare doesn't only mean destructing something, but also like getting into it and acquiring it and using it for maybe doing it in a more classy way, as you mentioned. So now they have the full drone. They can unbolt everything. They can read everything, and they can build on their own. So that's kind of more damage than actually damaging the drone itself. Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's amazing. So, and also, we have talked in terms of how, like, what cybersecurity is in terms of an individual, like taking care of his personal information and also his banking details and kind of thing, and in terms of an institution as well as a country. So, at the different levels of cybersecurity and different levels of practices that needs to be followed at every particular level. So in today's podcast, so most of the students who are attending are the students who are from first year and second year, as well as who recently started working on technologies and who are getting a hang of it, like how to get around it, how to get the best of technology to boost their career and all. So are there any important potholes that a student need to avoid or student need to look out for while he is in this journey? That's a good question. So as in this kind of a new world of where like everything is online and everybody has a computer in the hand in the form of a phone, it's very important that you protect your credentials, the passwords. And passwords is the most notorious security aspect. And that's why the multi-factor authentication has came up. So the multi-factor authentication is about having a password plus your mobile OTP or something like that. So every network provider, like a Google, or Facebook, or Microsoft emails, every person supports that. But we should know that not many people use it. And so if you think about the social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, they collect a lot of data, which might not be needed for your use case. So for that, you have a lot of privacy settings for each of the app you guys are using. So I would really encourage the students to go and read every privacy option of your app, whether it can be WhatsApp, security, and Facebook privacy, Twitter privacy, and even the emails. So what has to be stored, how many days it has to be stored. There's a lot of options. Not many people have seen it.
Accept those things and move forward.
Yeah, that's not good. And another thing that I really caution is using the free Wi-Fi hotspots. People have the mobile phones, but they don't care about where the internet is coming from. They just want internet from their phones. I really caution it because of many of these open hotspots. They can monitor every network packet that is going on your from your phone. That includes your password, and that includes a lot of secure things. That's why in some cases, this multi-factor authentication will help you, but I would really caution not to go with that open thing. And another thing is about in this mobile phones, especially Android and iOS, so every app will ask a lot of permissions. So why would every app ask for location? So location is sensitive. Don't think that location is not sensitive. It tracks where you are. So don't give the permissions for every app that is requesting. Think about why do they need it. And the beauty of that, most of the apps is even though you delete it, you can still use the app for whatever functionality you need.
Okay.
So I would caution for the students to make sure that they give a very minimal permissions for these apps, and do not install the apps from the unofficial stores. Prefer only the official Google Play Store or Apple Play Store.
Okay. Definitely makes sense because often we kind of see a note-taking app asking for a location permission. I always wondered why it needs. I understand like saving notes, giving permission to read files and all is fine, but why do it need my location? But I kind of give everything to those things. But maybe we need to change that habit. It's high time.
Yeah, they're asking the question. So think about like why do they need it? And especially when you are installing some apps which are asking for access to the messages or calls, making the permission to calls, it's not needed.
Right. So we it asks like in a series of questions, like when we install an app, like do you want to give this permission? So we actually need to focus on it, read on it, take a decision in ourselves if it actually needs or not, and then go forward with it. Yeah, I think this kind of a very good takeaway from like this. And also the open hotspots thing. So whenever we go to a cafe or whenever we go to a mall, so we often see all these malls also saying that internet is available. Cafe is saying that internet is available, but it's kind of an open internet. And definitely there's the kind of advantages and disadvantages for it. So we could use the internet, but at the same time, as you mentioned, like it's prone to a lot of different kinds of attacks there.
And protect your accounts using the second factor authentication. So that is a really cool stuff.
Okay, so I think these are the 3 points which we'll right away implement from today. So even our students are taking notes as we speak. So I think they'll follow it.
And the fourth one would be the privacy settings. I would really love to engineers to read the privacy settings of this app.
Okay, I'm sure that it will give a different perspective if you start reading that. So okay, so these are the things which happen back of the app maybe. So I'm looking forward to doing that assignment after it.
Yeah, sure.
And also, Gautam, so one more thing I generally wonder. So you are in Meta.
Yes.
So you are in like world's, I think, top 3 organization, one of the top 3 organization. And also you're working in a leading role there. like leading the security team and also working to making better every day. Like, can you briefly explain like what your how a typical day of yours look like, and also maybe a little bit information on what you generally do?
Yeah, so I work in a Reality Labs division of the Facebook or Meta. So the Reality Labs develops the virtual reality devices like Oculus Quest, and so there is a new level of Meta devices coming up, including like smart glasses or smart watches or etc. So basically, in the fundamentals of for this one is about an Android specific or Linux specific operating system. So my role here is to think about all the attacks that can emanate for this platform as an operating system. So I'm coming up with new features which can protect from these type of attacks. We always tries to be on top of the latest attacks on these platforms from the internet or from the white hat conferences, and just being top of these conferences itself will give us a lot of ideas what is happening. And there is a lot of central security teams around the Meta, so they will keep us loop if there is a security incident is found. Okay. And as I already said, I love the security incidents because that gives us opportunities to build new stuff. Right. So whenever a security incident happens, so we will be doing a postmortem for it and thinking about what to do in future to not to repeat this one. So I'm coming up with the features and designing the systems who are like will be sharing our workload. So they'll be contributing to all these projects that we foresee. And some of the projects, we keep them in a backlog. And whenever we get the time, we get on it. Mm-hmm. So another important aspect in the these big corporates is you can always do a lot of stuff. You can always have like a long list of things. But what is the most important one? So what is the most prioritized one? Highest priority for the organization. So then you map the organization priorities with what is you wanted to do, and you get a list what you want to do. Okay. And even for the students, I always say that like you will always have a lot of ideas in your mind. You wanted to read that, you want to learn that. You should always have the focus of what does employers are looking for. So those skills you have to prioritize first. So that will really help you in landing your first job. So landing in your first job in everyone's career is a very important milestone. So you can always learn a lot of stuff, but don't lose the focus on what is the most important and prioritized one. So prioritize your goals, prioritize your learnings, so then you can do a lot of stuff.
Awesome. I mean, maybe after listening to this, I got a sense of how you keep so calm. Being a security engineer where every day seems to be different. I'm sure that every day you go to the office and once you log into your work, you kind of see many things which are unexpected. That's true. And every day will be a different day for you, but you still are so calm and so poised kind of person.
We'll get to learn after. When I was working in the antivirus industry in Microsoft, we used to work like 6 months, and suddenly one day the one hacker going to find a new technique and all our work is gone. So we're going to put that work closed and start working on a new thing.
I mean, that's very difficult to make peace with it, I believe.
Huh? What is that?
That's very difficult to make peace with it, like keeping aside of all the 6 months work which we have done.
Yeah, but that's part of the job.
Yeah, maybe this is the kind of principle you live by, which makes you like become better at things at the same time, not get attached to it. Okay, so this is an important learning which we can also take and try to implement in our day-to-day lives. Yeah, and also, so you were saying example of how security teams work and how decisions or work priorities will be happen in companies like Meta, right? So I mean, the day when you started your work, like back when you graduated, so that's kind of a pre-internet era, at least for us. So it's like the internet is just getting started. They're not mobile apps and nothing like it. And today you're working in the latest thing which changes every day, not day, by every minute. I think new things come up right? So how do you keep up with it? Like, do you continuously learn about new things, or do you have a strategy to upskill yourself?
So back in the days of 2007 and 8, so we used to have like a software development life cycles of a year, like a typical waterfall software engineering development model. I'm not sure if the new engineers knows about it, but it's about like full cycle of the whole year. So we'll be left in peace for developing this whole thing for a year. First, you do planning, design, implementation, testing, delivery. But fast forward like 15 years now, things are now super fast. Everything is in agile system, and everything will keep changing. So we'll go in an iterative model, and we'll have a short iterations, and we keep learning from each iteration, and we go with the next when we go in the next iteration. That's a good model, in my opinion.
Those cycles are very short, is it?
Yes, it's going to be 2 weeks here. The 2 weeks time is called sprints, and every sprint will plan something and we'll execute something, and we'll learn from the previous sprint.
So from a year to 2 weeks is like a lot of drastic change.
That is true. So it is a lot of difference. Does it mean that you don't work on the long projects? No, we still work on the long projects, but we'll keep up to date about like the changes that we have to do. Nothing is frozen yet until the last day when we ship the feature. Anything can change at that time, anytime. But in the waterfall model, it was not the case. So things are frozen, and it's very hard to get approvals, and there's a lot of things. So here, if you don't be that aggressive, you can't deliver. You can't win the business. So that's a business requirement. So any engineer who is not following the business rhythm will keep outdated very soon. So we have to follow the business rhythm and the business goals. So the Windows 7 was developed like more than 3 to 4 years. So the planning, execution, everything. And fast forward to 10 years. So I was working on a Microsoft Office project for Android. So that's the first time the Microsoft Office was shipped in the Android. When we were working on the Windows 7, we were monopoly. So nobody was there. If we don't give Windows 7, people will use XP. That's all. But here, so if we don't release the Microsoft Office in next 6 months, there is another app which is doing all the thing that Microsoft Office is doing. So after that, it doesn't matter whether you release it or not.
Yeah, by the time people will be used to using the previous app. Yeah.
That means you have a cutthroat timelines, and we have to live up to it. And we did it. So we delivered in the most shortest time possible in the Microsoft. I think that's one of the shortest project, which is a very big project. So having the whole Microsoft Office apps, Android, is not a small project. But the Microsoft has did it. It's the same project, the same team, like 10 years.
That's a kind of change in the shift, or change in the perspective of the developers, the team, and as a company, and as a total business, which has been from the last, how it used to be in 15 years back then and how it used to be now.
I would really encourage the new engineers to keep in mind that the things are so fast. So you have to be fast and catch up, and you have to keep learning from every day, and you have to improve from your previous life.
Need for agility and need to start early. So, I mean, do you have some time of your day to learn new things, or how do you keep yourself so updated?
I will have some kind of a time every day as part of my work to follow some blogs and read something before I get into the work. It's like my news read. Okay. First, I will do that and then get into the work.
Look like starting with reading new things and getting to learn what's happening in the world today, and how does it look like after that?
So usually I come up with all the messages and emails, and then go with the new stuff, and then I'll start the work.
Okay.
So there'll be a lot of meetings usually. So morning meetings, and afternoon is the real work. So mornings are usually meetings.
Okay. So it must have been already a tiring day for you, and even at late night you are trying to talk to our students and give them the insights which they require. Thank you so much for that. And also, I wanted to ask one more question about your current work style. So we had a podcast done a couple of weeks back. So we were discussing about being a developer, like the person who does and hands-on kind of person, and being a manager, right? So you have seen both, right? So you have. So how do you control the urge to go into and do things yourself, versus how do you try to keep your teams move forward? So I think that should be a very good perspective even for the students while starting the journey.
That is true. So I think every engineer will come into this stage maybe 4-5 years after their initial first job. The point here is like, if you want to do hands-on, you can do it, but you should not be, it would be more tempting, and you would be, you cannot fulfill all your capacity. You cannot fulfill all your ideas by just you alone. So basically the scalability matters. So if you want to have a big project, if you want to build a big designs, you can't do alone. And we should first keep that superhero attitude of like, I can do everything.
Okay.
So no, you can't do everything. So you need people. You need the collaboration between the people to achieve something, especially the large projects. So when that is a compulsion, and if you can't do everything, so that means you need to have a backup of the people and engineers who can trust you, who can follow you, and who can trust on your designs. So I would mostly work on the designs. I love my designs, and I will try to give some examples, and I will be very top notch on a lot of the code reviews from the team's members. So that is how I basically reduce my code rush, by looking at the code and troubling them as much as I can. So that is basically kind of a true team lead, my role. So he has to encourage the engineers to do the work, and he has to guide them using the experience that they got. So you have to pass on the skills that you developed, the experience you developed.
Yeah, I mean, so you're also working on technologies which the people who hasn't seen, common public has not even seen, right? Like even in Meta of Facebook. So you're working on the things which are so futuristic, right? So how do you, feel like, so you are inventing stuff, and every day you're working on many designs, working with so many teams, the best of the minds in the world, and you are in the top 0.001% according to me. So you kind of leading the roadmap. So how do you see the future of technology? How do you see the future of and scope of career in a technology?
So definitely, though I work so many things, that's not what I feel like a kind of an happiness. So when really the thing that gets shipped, and when it blocks an active attack, and when somebody comes and say that so your feature has blocked this many number of people, this many number of devices, so that really gives me more satisfaction than just working on so many projects.
The impact it makes.
Yeah, the impact. So impact is the one that is gives me more satisfaction. And the technology going forward is going to be very, very cutthroat, and it's going to be the faster. So it's going to be the next stage of technology is going to be even faster than what we see in the mobile technologies. Especially beyond the cloud, I see that there is a long view of the hardware inventions, like quantum computing or something like that. So that's going to completely reshape the rest of the technologies. And the artificial intelligence, so the AI revolution is also a long view. So the lot of systems are maturing, and algorithms are maturing. Once they get to that tipping point, so I see that every other system going to change. But it's going to be super fast. So we need to be at the top notch to catch it.
Okay. So I got a feeling that there's kind of a technology cycle which happens every now and then, and every invention, like as a very considerable, impactful invention, will change the course of other technologies. Does it work like that on an overview level?
Definitely, I totally agree with that. So any major invention in technology will reshape the technology space for some time. The same thing happened with the PCs, and after the PCs, the internet, blah blah blah, and after that, it's like mobile technology revolution, and then telecom. So these are some of the things that really reshaped everything. So now I feel like the cloud is the next that is driving from last 5-10 years, no 5 years I think. And I think the machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the quantum and the hardware innovation is going to be reshaped in the next decade, I feel.
Okay. So by the time our students like get to work on their hands-on in a real company, so hopefully they will be able to be part of the bigger revolution.
Yes. And hardware innovation is going to reshape the whole security industry. So all the cryptography, everything will be, assumptions that were made in the cryptography will be broken, and security systems had to be rebuilt from the scratch. So that is really challenging.
It gives me a vibe that you are so much looking forward to, to that moment where it gets broken and everything gets recreated. So that you get to learn more challenges, and also at the same time, it's a lot of opportunities again. So
you're not in the technology, so that is the cycle of the life. So that is what's going to happen usually.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's it's a law of nature probably. So it's how things work. Yeah. So at the same time, like the students who are listening to the podcast. So it's already been so we have taken so much time of yours, even if it's late night. So I would request you to give some tips or best practices for the students to follow, and at the same time, since we have so much of a scope in advanced tech careers, so what are the small things they can do from now on so that they can have a bright career, or they can they can get the most of the opportunity?
Yeah. So one of the first tip that I would give is so there is 3 terms, which is basically kind of in terms of evolution: science, engineering, and technology. And every engineering is backed up from the science, like computer science and mechanical science, or the physics or something like that. So anything that you study in your engineering, that is considered to be the fundamentals of every technology aspects that is evaluating. So that means I really encourage the people to be very good and strong in the fundamentals. Especially in the computer science, I really want the students not to avoid certain subjects like theory of computation, automata theory, computer architecture, and principles of programming languages. So these are something which were not given their fair credit. So in my opinion, these must be giving more credit and more stress, because that will really build you that foundation you need to succeed in this technology and for ever-changing technology. Because if you learn a language, it will be outdated after some time. So what are you going to do? If you learn a particular software and get into a job and that is outdated, so what are you going to do? So if you have that foundation, you can always learn the new stuff. And adaptable. So be adaptable. So always things will change. So consider that whatever you are learning now in this, like when you are in the second year, maybe not the same in the 4th year. But the thing that you have to learn is being adaptable. And so be open for challenges. So don't think that you are in a certain college, so you cannot reach to that companies, or you cannot reach to that height. No, that's not correct. I know many of the friends who are in kind of, and even like the JNTU, like the Tier 2 or Tier 3 colleges when I was studying. So they are in Meta now. So then nothing stops that. But you have to be consistent, and you have to be persistent, and keep focused on your goal. So then nothing stops you from reaching to any of your goals. So these are some of the tips I want to give.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Being from a so humble background, like being a Telugu medium student from a Tier 3 town in Telugu state, to a leading engineer, leading technology torch bearer, I should say. you're working on everyday challenges. So even from the example you have mentioned, I think you have been a scientist, an engineer, and also a technologist, where you drive the course of how technology things work. And also, it's very good to see learning from you so many things today. And I think our students have already learned some key aspects of security, the common terminologies, and what are the potholes they need to avoid. And definitely, I'm sure while installing a new app from today, they're going to read the privacy statement and also look through the settings of the existing apps. So it must have been intrinsic point which we have created today. And also, thanks for the advice of yours on how to be consistent, on how to what are the small things that they can do from today, so that they can have a good perspective, like the importance of being adaptable, and also the importance of being open to challenges. So I think there are a ton of learnings we have from today. So I don't want to make you stay up late today, because we have many things to go on tomorrow morning. So thank you so much for joining.
So thank you so much for the opportunity, Avinash, to have a platform for sharing my thoughts and experience. So if that helps, I would be super glad that if it at least helps even one student, I'll be super helpful. And I'll be super happy that it's helpful for even a single person.
It's a pleasure, Gautam. So you'll get to see on your LinkedIn post or LinkedIn feed, and also in the feedback forms, that how the students learned and how the students got many insights from them. I'm sure they must be very thrilled today. So thank you again. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.